Welcome back to the Boys and Bolos podcast. We're down here in the Rat Tail Bunker and Barbershop studio, back down here.
There are things happening upstairs. I don't know if people can hear it on the mics. It's pretty funny.
Oh, they won't hear it because the mic.
I feel like your father-in-law is like whistling a tune and walking around.
That might be Owen's.
Is Owen whistling?
Oh, no, but he might be clomping around.
Oh, okay. I was like, if you're like 14 or 15-month-old is whistling, like...
Yeah, that would be...
He's destined for great things.
Well, Jarrett, speaking of great things, we watched a lot of great football games.
OD'd on soccer.
A lot of good games.
A lot of good
in
footy.
the round of 16.
What was your favorite game in round of 16?
I would have to say the game... Gosh, I'm sitting here just trying to think of all the games. The France-Switzerland game.
France-Switzerland was my favorite too. Because I was going to say the Croatia-Spain was full of excitement. There was a crazy own goal. There was 8 goals scored total. It was good to see Spain play well because we had picked Croatia, but we didn't know that Perisic wasn't going to play.
Right.
Once Perisic doesn't play,
and it was still pretty close.
Tournaments are all about big names, and you rarely have somebody kind of come out who you've never heard of. Obviously, Eder, winning the 2016 final with Portugal, who's now not even on the Portuguese team. I guess I just contradicted myself. But point being... I thought the Switzerland game was absolutely phenomenal. I thought it was absolute fire. The fact that they scored the 90th minute was insane. I mean, the game is so wild that Xhaka, who's wearing the 10 for Switzerland, looked phenomenal. Like he looked like a stud.
Yeah, it was like a Pogba Manchester United situation with Xhaka. He's kind of garbage on Arsenal. He's like pretty average. He's good for a couple yellow cards.
I mean, he balled out against Chelsea. He scored that ridiculous free kick when we played him.
For the most part, he's just kind of a thug when on Arsenal.
He's such a thug. And he's like, he's built for like a shitty MLS team. He's just such a, I don't know. Anyway, so Switzerland go through. The human cube, who's taller than the Eiffel Tower, check out our IG or our Twitter, goes through. And honestly, Switzerland, if you have to play Switzerland, that's not fun. Like, I wouldn't be excited to play them because... They don't have to lose. Like, they have nothing to lose. Like, Switzerland could easily get to the semis.
They could. I still think Spain will. They have leaky defense, but...
Wait, should we go through the round of 16 or just...
Yeah, let's just go through the round of 16.
Okay, let's just go through really quickly and then we'll...
Belgium, Portugal.
We picked Belgium, which was nice. And we can go and talk about our picks, too. We picked Belgium, so that was nice.
Yep.
I thought Portugal looked super pedestrian. Bruno Fernandes just... I was expecting big things from him this tournament.
When VAR's not helping him out, he looks pretty average.
When VAR's not helping him out, when he's not on Barchester United, I was just expecting big things from him, and I give him a lot of shit on the pod, but I actually think he's a stud. I think he's a class act. And I just don't think Portugal put him in the situation to probably be his best self. And I'm going to say the same about Jota. Jota, before he got hurt with Liverpool, was phenomenal.
Yep. Arguably
probably one of the best players in the Premier League. And once again, I don't think, and this is Eddie, if you're listening to this, Eddie said, he asked the question in our chat, do you think, and actually I was thinking, let's start a Boys and Bolos chat and just invite everyone who listens in, and then we'll just...
Yeah, it could get a little messy, but...
Messy with a Y or an I? You see what I did
Good
there?
pun.
That was a decent pun.
It's a decent pun.
But what Eddie was saying is that basically, he asked the question, maybe Portugal is better. Is Portugal better without Ronaldo? Because of the vacuum that he creates and the whole idea, like, we got to get him the ball, because he does finish. He's obviously... I don't think he's the greatest of all time, but I will say I think Ronaldo is the greatest finisher of all time. That guy in the box or around the box, no one has a mind for goal. No one creates space. No one sees the ball. No one can jump as high as he can. He's a phenomenal killer. But I think it neutral, like say Ronaldo gets hurt, then what happens? They won the Euro last time and he was hurt. He didn't even play in the final.
Right.
So I thought Eddie made a really good point, and I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, but I do think that if Ronaldo hadn't played, let's just say he got hurt pre-tournament, Jota, Bruno Fernandes, Bernardo Silva, João Felix probably starts. It's honestly, it's more of a team and less of a high school setup where it's like, all right, we have one stud on the team. We just got to get him the ball enough and then we'll win the game. So I think Eddie showed some pretty good foresight with that when I look back now, and everything's obviously easier in 2020. But I wasn't surprised to see Belgium go through. But Belgium winning that game had some injuries.
Eden Hazard
and KDB. So if they don't, going into the next round, if they don't have those guys, we'll talk about next round. But I think that's fairly difficult. And the next game was Italy, Austria. This was pretty cut and dry.
Yeah. Italy won. They look good.
Italy won. They look good.
Donnarumma clean. They gave up 1 goal. It was 1 header late.
Yeah, they had
It was a pretty
the first goal
phenomenal
given
header.
up.
But either way, their defense is solid. I think they're a lock for the semifinal. But actually, I don't know. Italy Belgium will be a close game.
Close game.
Let's
Finish it.
We'll get there.
So Switzerland, France, we already talked about. Phenomenal game. There was the whole bust up at the end with Rabiot's mother, who was like saying shit about Mbappe being too cocky and Pogba being lazy. And I'm kind of just like, if Rabiot's mother wants to do that as Rabiot's mother, I think that's fine. But apparently she's also his agent. So if she has her agent hat on, she should not be doing that. That's just my personal opinion. If you're the agent.
There's a lot of I feel like a lot of hotheads after that game because they were probably expected to go pretty deep into this tournament, and to go out in the round of 16 is a very big disappointment. I mean, they won the World Cup. I mean, this team,
France has a history
right
of these peaks and valleys.
Right.
So 98 win the World Cup, 2000 win the Euro. So those are 2 peaks. 2002 they bounce out early to Senegal. 2004 I can't remember what they did in the Euro. 2006 Zidane goes out in the headbutt. 2008, I honestly can't remember that Euro, but I want to talk about 2010. In 2010, they were going to have a baller-ass team, and then basically it all fell apart, and I'm pretty sure that's the World Cup where France just like abandoned. They were like they all refused to get off the bus one day for a training. So the French have like a very interesting inter-squad dynamic that seems to constantly hurt them.
This is essentially the same team that will be in the next World Cup next year. And they will still be a pre-tournament favorite because
they'll be
on
top
paper,
3, for sure.
On paper, this is a very, very, very good team. On paper.
And they've won it before.
I mean, Lloris will be a year older, but probably won't make a difference. You still got Mbappe. You still got
it's the
Pogba.
same.
It's the same team.
You got Pogba, Kanté, Griezmann, Mbappe, Benzema. I guess my question was, would France have been better had they had played Giroud over Benzema?
He scored a goal, Benzema, in that game. I don't know.
Because they won the World Cup with Giroud, and he didn't score a goal, which is very rare for a 9 to win a World Cup and not score a goal. But I just felt like he was the hold-up player, and because he was always center park, Griezmann and Mbappe were able to just fly off him, and there was more of a system. But when you have Benzema, Griezmann, and Mbappe, they're all 3 guys that are kind of going to do the same thing. Now, you could say Benzema's a hold-up guy. As he's gotten older in Madrid, he's kind of stayed more home. But I don't know. I just kind of like...
I think Mbappe is going to get a lot of stick, obviously, for missing a penalty. Fair. But he also probably get a lot of negative feedback from this tournament because he didn't score many goals, if any goals. But he did create chances. And so...
He did create chances, and he had a lot of chances himself. He should have scored.
He should have scored.
The one that was slid to him in the first half of that game, and he just kind of put wide because he didn't get his hip around it. I was kind of surprised. That's a goal you put away. Like, that's a goal. Like, that comes to Bruno Fernandes, it's a goal.
Right.
Or at least it's on frame. He missed the frame. But like I tweeted the other day, I mean, Mbappe's 22. He's won the World Cup. He's going to be for France for 3 more World Cups, 3 more Euros. He's definitely probably going to eventually win the Ballon d'Or just by the fact that like he and Aaron Holland are like the only 2 guys that are kind of ascending to that level that young. This France team, I don't know. I was just kind of like, if you're Rabiot's mom, maybe just be quiet because you're his agent. So when you have your agent hat off, I don't think hat on. I don't think you should say that. And also, I think Tolisso should have started over your boy. So he was lucky to even start.
Yeah. He didn't play particularly well either.
No, he didn't. He didn't. I mean, they just looked completely disconnected, and I forget who I was talking with earlier.
Well, their defense isn't that great. I mean,
France's defense is not good.
That great.
They're not good. They, in the last World Cup, it was
Varane's overrated.
Who?
Varane.
Oh, yeah, he's brutal. And it also shows how big of an influence Umtiti has because without him on the field, it was bad. But France has never had a good defense. Like the team that won the World Cup, they gave up 3 goals to Argentina. It was just the fact that they could knock. They landed more punches.
Yeah.
In the final, it was 4-2, and Lloris had a howler where he let the ball in. So their defense isn't good, but if they're not scoring, there's no way they can win the games. But I would have figured that with 3 goals, that would be good. It was brutal.
Guess not.
It was brutal. So okay,
France is out. Croatia, Spain. We talked about this a little bit. Spain won.
No Perisic. That obviously influenced. It was a phenomenal game. Both games that day went 3-3 regular time and went to OT. You can't ask for anything more as a neutral.
Yep. Sweden, Ukraine. That was yesterday.
This was a phenomenal game.
I really thought that Sweden was going to pull it out, and I think the red card was pretty much the nail in the coffin for them.
Sweden hit the post so many times. That Forsberg hit that he had from outside.
God, what a shot, dude.
Would have been goal of the tournament. The way he got around it and over it. The tackle that the Swedish guy put on that Ukrainian guy was unreal. I want to give him 2 reds.
Men in Blazers posted the screenshot of like the impact.
Oh.
The guy's leg was going in an angle that his knee was not in the right spot.
It like hyperextended. It went back and it was bad.
It was bad.
Honestly, they should pursue a ban because he's probably going to be out for some time getting like knee
reconstruction.
Like it was bad. It was really bad.
It wasn't a red. They had to go review it on VAR for red card, right?
Yeah, it was because the way in the angle. I think
he got some of the ball. I think that's why they didn't originally give it a red card, but it doesn't matter.
The follow through was so high.
Went cleats, like full on cleats up into the guy's leg. It was brutal. I thought that was really the nail in the coffin for Sweden, and Ukraine deserved the victory. Honestly,
the one thing I will say about Sweden is they had the guy Isaac.
Oh yeah, yep.
I thought he was one of the more inspiring players that I saw throughout the tournament. Just every time he got the ball, the way that he would move and he would create space. And Sweden's not like known for going forward in crazy numbers, especially not with Zlatan. But with not having Zlatan in the tournament, I was really excited to see that Sweden have another bigger, kind of lanky, creative striker. So that was cool.
Old team, though. So the Swedish team is fairly old.
They're weathered. But they have really good healthcare there, so they can play longer.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Forsberg was a young guy. He's 30. Forsberg's 30. Zlatan's old. This is one of the oldest teams. I think Isaac's like the youngest guy on the team.
Dude, easily the youngest. Next game, England-Germany.
Oof.
Also a fire game. I was wrong. This is a call where I was very, very wrong. Oh, we were also wrong about the Spain-Croatia.
Yeah. I said this game was going to be a grinded-out victory for England, and I was somewhat correct.
Somewhat.
I thought it was going to be a 1-0 victory, and Kane put the nail in the coffin on on Germany's chances. And it was funny because Germany did have a chance to tie the game. A couple minutes after Sterling scored, he gave a horrible back pass that basically split the defenders, and Muller ran onto it and just basically shanked it. So should have scored.
Muller on Twitter was saying, basically, I fucked up. I'm sorry. I feel bad. I let my team down, let the fans down, let the whole country of Germany down. It was really cool to see him just take responsibility. That, to me, is like the mindset of a champion. Just full responsibility, and we're going to move on to the next. Whereas on the other side, it was like with Rabiot's mother and like the French just kind of like pointing fingers. The French team, if you lose and you have a world-class team like France, and honestly Germany is a really top team, it's all on you. It was your game to lose.
Yeah.
Your game to lose.
I thought England played well. Their defense is very, very solid. I would say between Italy and England, those are the two teams kind of to beat, score goals on. I mean, it's going to be hard because Pickford's playing well.
England's 3-back is brutal to get by.
Yeah, Walker's really fast, really solid. The reemergence of John Stones.
Stones isn't a stiff.
And then Maguire just
at home.
Maguire just suddenly like came in and he can play a full 90 like all of a sudden. I mean, he's been doing some serious work in the training ground because he didn't play soccer for like 2 months.
It's England looked good. England definitely deserved the win. It's incredible that Raheem Sterling is having the tournament he is, because I don't think any of us saw it. If you had said Raheem Sterling will have more goals at the end of the tournament than Harry Kane, I think that's 90-1 no. Pre-tournament.
Which still might not end up being the case, because Harry Kane could easily score a brace next game and they'd be
He
tying
could score
goals.
a brace. He could easily overpass him.
Yeah.
I met a guy, I told you I was in CVS, and he had a England jersey on. I asked him who's going. He's like, oh, England, but in overtime. And he said Sterling would win. Sterling would score the goal. So he was totally right. And Sterling, maybe it's coming home. It's tough to tell.
There's something to be said about being in the right place at the right time. Good strikers, good forwards seem to find themselves in good places to score goals. And
if you watch the replay of that goal, and I don't know if Pep taught him this, if Klopp taught him this, wherever he learned this, he runs in, and then he realized he has to readjust his run, so he literally almost does like a circle, backpedals, and then runs in again, so that way the ball's in front of him and not behind him.
And he's on sides.
It was he was obviously like trying to stay on side, but also not stay ahead of the pass. And it was a very, very mature thing, which I don't think Raheem Sterling of even a couple years ago would have done. So if you have a chance, go watch that replay. It's a very minor thing, but it's the difference between scoring that goal or the ball being too far behind you.
I think the thing that's frustrating about Sterling is that he will make the difference in the game. Like he'll score a goal or he'll have an assist, but he does a lot of things that are so frustrating. Before, like 70 minutes before that game, his vision on when he has the ball is very poor, I think, in my opinion.
He's not a good passer.
He's not a good passer. He doesn't have very good vision when he gets his head. He just puts his head down and he runs straight, right? He's good at that. And that works to some teams' advantage. I think that's why Pep benched him, honestly. He wasn't doing a lot of productive things off the ball or even on the ball on Man City. He bottles a lot of chances as well, and I always give him. And he
bottles a lot of chances. However, maybe it's like he only bottles 50% of his chances, right? And so, in the long run, he'll bottle 50 and he'll make 50. Okay, right? Maybe what we've been seeing in Raheem Sterling in the last 6 to 8 months with Manchester City is all the misses, and now it's aggregating out. I don't know because he's. I think if you look at his shots on target and goals, there must be a pretty good ratio. He just.
I don't think he gets to a point in the box that he even has a chance to shoot. Because I think there's a lot of times where he overruns or he runs out of bounds or he gets the ball to the touchline and he doesn't know what to do with it and he hits it off a defender or the ball just like runs away from him or the defender gets it. I don't know. I still don't know. Maybe my problem with England isn't Raheem Sterling. It's just that I still don't agree with the starting lineup in any of these games.
If he doesn't start Grealish next game, I don't know what he's going for, other than having an amazing super sub to just try to pull out in the heat. Because you look at this game, and this is on our IG and on our Twitter, Grealish comes in the 69th minute, and then there's a goal 5 minutes after, and then a goal 6 minutes after that.
He gives the assist for it.
And he gives the second assist. But clearly his presence in the field opens up just so much more because the way he plays, he's a creator. Saka's more of a finisher or a guy who's going to run him behind. But Grealish gets the ball, slows it down.
He looks up.
Gets his head up and looks to pick a pass. And he's just so quality. So for me, I would really like to see Grealish start. And honestly, he's got to give Sancho a run here or there.
Yeah.
If he goes through this whole tournament and doesn't play Sancho, it will be for the detriment of England. They're too Prem-centric. They're way too Prem-centric. Germany's like, yeah, if you don't want him, we'll give him a passport because we know how good he is.
Yeah.
And I also thought, this is on the other side, I thought Serge Gnabry, when he came in, I thought he was in a horror show.
Yeah.
He was a horror show. He looked so bad. He gave the ball away almost every time. He couldn't find the space to get into. It was a horror show. So England won that one, which is good. The next game was Czech Republic and Netherlands. Czech look good.
Dutch look bad.
The Dutch look bad. The Dutch look super bad.
Super disorganized.
They look sad. You know what they looked like? They still if Van Dijk had played, it obviously would have been a different tournament for them. I have to believe.
Depay just never got going this tournament.
So he didn't win the Golden Boot like I predicted.
He did not win the Golden Boot.
I just assumed they were gonna rack him up against North Macedonia, but
it didn't work out that way.
North Macedonia apparently ballers.
They're ballers. So the Czech, I don't know. They have, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We will see what happens.
They have an easier game against Denmark, even though that Denmark's been playing inspired.
The Denmark-Wales game was kind of like, man, I thought Bale was going to do more. He didn't do anything.
He played fine. Their defense was shoddy. So if anybody thinks that Joe Rodon and Davis are going to be the starting back line at Spurs next season, they may want to reconsider. That was rough. Rough stuff.
Whenever given the chance, you will take a shot at Spurs.
Yeah, well, it's not getting any.
Spurs is on the ground, and you're just kicking him with steel toe in the ribs. And it gives you pleasure.
Yeah. I mean, actually, Rodon, I thought, had a pretty good tournament up until this game.
Everyone has a good tournament until they get bounced out. So
everyone has a good tournament until they get 4 goals scored in them.
Yeesh. So, all right, let's talk about the quarterfinals. That's really what we're here to do today. Ooh, let's start at the bottom and work our way back up. So Czech Republic, Denmark. I think Denmark wins this. They just look inspired. But this is a game, too, where I think that both of these teams probably feel like they're on borrowed time. Czech Republic Maybe Czech Republic less so than Denmark. I mean, Denmark only got through in the last day of the group stage. Obviously, they wiped out Wales, but both of those teams really benefited from a favorable round of 16.
Yeah.
They didn't have to play any of the top 5 teams, which would have been Belgium, France, Italy, England, or Germany, or Portugal. They avoided all those.
And I think that really, I agree with you. So I do think that Denmark will end up winning 1-0, 2-1, one of those situations. But they are going to have to play the winner of the England-Ukraine game.
Who do you think is winning that one? Because I see Ukraine as a banana peel. They play soccer, they ball, they have a system. They're not on paper as good as England. England should overwhelm them as far as like if you're looking at paper. But they also have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
They have 0 things to lose. And they know that if they go and beat England, it would be almost like winning the tournament for them, I think, for many of them. If Yarmolenko, he went off the last game, if he's hurt, they have no chance. That's my take. He's so integral to them going forward. However, this guy comes off the bench and scores the winner. So maybe I'm just talking out of my ass. I think, though, in that game... Okay, so we picked Denmark in the first game. In this game, I think England win it, but I do not think it's a comfortable win.
No. I think that England are still... Okay, so Gary Southgate doesn't put... If he puts out the exact same lineup against Germany that they did against Germany, they will have trouble scoring goals. It will not be... They're not going to run the score up. They're going to have to wait till Grealish. Honestly, if they don't start Grealish, they want to score early. That's the whole thing. They need to score early. They need to get a comfortable lead.
Did you know in the last game, John Champion dropped the stat, he's like, in the last 9 tournament games England's played and they haven't scored past like the 62nd minute. They totally blew that out of the water because they scored in the 75th and the 86th minute. But they're a team that has to start early and get on the front foot. If Ukraine were to score early, if Ukraine score the first goal, it's going to be exceedingly comfortable. I still think England win. I don't know how, whether it's in PKs and OT. But if Ukraine score first, whoever scores first, if England score first, the game's over. That's my take.
Yeah.
But if Ukraine score first, the game isn't over. It's still up in the air, but it's just going to be way more ground out for England.
For me, I feel like if Ukraine scores in the first half, in the first whatever it is, it's going to be a kind of a fluke goal. I don't think that England's just suddenly going to give it up. Like they're too solid in the back, and Pickford's too good and having a great tournament. He could easily win the Golden Gloves in this tournament. He's just not letting anything in. He's making great saves.
It will be Pickford or Donnarumma.
Yeah, Pickford, Donnarumma. And I think Pickford hasn't been scored on, right? They haven't given up a goal.
Not that I know of.
And Donnarumma's given up 1 goal. So depending on how far they get into the tournament, that's really who's going to win the Golden Glove. They're back 3. If they play a back 3, and for me, I think they're going to set it up. They're going to set up their defense exactly the same. They're going to play a 3-5. What, 3-5-2? 3-5? No, 3.
It's like a
3-5. It's like almost. They're going to play wing backs.
It's like a 3-5-2. Yeah, they're going to play 3 with wing backs and 2 in the middle. And when they play 2 in the middle, I just hate it because then it gives no chance for Mason Mount to play because they just like to play with these 2 kind of technical holders. With Phillips and Rice.
I think what basically I was on the group chat with Nader and Eddie, and I was saying how I've been kind of unimpressed with Declan Rice, but maybe that's because he hasn't been like making a huge impact, quote unquote impact in terms of like flashiness, but he's been solid. He's been very solid as a defensive midfielder, playing in the back, making sure that the ball comes out of the defense and links up with the midfielders. I think he's been playing fine. I don't think they're going to stray from that. It's really what they do up top that's going to really dictate whether England can score early. And unfortunately, I think if they play Saka instead of Grealish, I think that they're going to have problems breaking down the Ukraine defense.
Saka should line up on the same side as Zinchenko, and I think Zinchenko's a better defender than Saka's an offender. So
and their speed is very similar, so I don't think like suddenly Saka's going to get behind him.
Yeah, I don't think so at all. So it's going to be interesting to see. This is a game though that would be a banana peel, and it would be England-esque to beat Germany, a team they haven't really beaten a long time, especially not in London or Wembley. It was a pretty big moment for English soccer. To then lose to Ukraine, to Ukraine, knowing that if you win, you probably have to play Denmark, a team you should beat. Like England's road to the final, I don't think it's ever been this easy in a Euro.
Right.
So for them to not take advantage of this is like shame on them. And they also have a phenomenal team. I think Graham Souness was saying on Sky or something that like if you look, and it may not have been Graham Souness, but he's like, if you look at their bench 11, they might even beat the first team depending upon how you set up the matchups. Because there's just so much freaking talent on this team.
The only other team that rivals them when it comes in terms of talent, maybe Italy, or maybe Belgium,
France.
Oh, yeah, who are still in the tournament?
France or Portugal. Oh yeah, who are still in the tournament? Oh, just on paper,
Belgium,
probably
maybe.
just Belgium if they're all healthy. But okay, let's say England. So we have Denmark and England. Let's go the next game, Switzerland, Spain. This is a game where I'm not really sure if I had $100 who I'd put it on. Because Spain obviously have scored in the last group stage game. They scored 5 goals. In the last round of 16, they scored 5 goals. So they've shown that they know how to get forward and cause problems. And
They can't defend for
in
shit.
the qualifying, they were the team that had the most opportunities created going forward. So, but they just don't finish because they have Morata basically, who's like a C+ forward right now, I think in Europe. I don't. What do you do with this? Because Switzerland are also a team that just are not going to give up, and like you said, Spain don't really have a great defense. This is a game that I see going to PKs, and I only say that because I can't figure out.
I see it going to PKs with like on a 2-2 draw after 120 minutes, like a couple goals. They're going to score a couple goals each team, and it's going to come down to probably the last 10 minutes of the game.
I'm going to leave this for me. It's undecided. I can't even say.
I can't even say.
All right, we'll leave. We'll put a question
I
mark.
would love to
on
see
the
Switzerland
graphic.
win. I want to see Switzerland win.
Should we root for Switzerland?
I'm going to root for
All
Switzerland.
right, well, Switzerland. I mean, I would love to see
I'm
Switzerland.
not like I have
Spain-
no dog.
Spain
I
have
have
had
no
their
dog
time
in.
in the
Yeah,
sun.
exactly. I have no dog in this fight. I would think it's a cool story. I like Shaqiri.
When 2008, I was in Barcelona when they won, and that's when I bought my Xavi Spain jersey.
Wow.
And it came with shorts. I still have it, full kit. And it came with socks, full kit. Maybe I'll wear the full kit sometime. If Spain win the Euros, I'll put on that full kit. It's pretty legit.
We don't actually think Spain's going to win, though.
I don't know who's going to win now.
I don't either.
The 3 big kings from the group of death all got knocked out. So if it's not Italy or England, it would be a surprise, and that would be cool. Italy would have always been, they were always our dark horse that we kind of chose. Or sorry, if it's not Italy or England, and we're now getting there, so we think England will win that last game, right? Well, I'm all over the place. England will win the game. Sorry, we're talking about Switzerland, Spain. Jesus, I'm all over the place. Switzerland, Spain. Let's go with Switzerland. Alpine Messi.
Alpine Messi.
Who can only like ever play about 70 minutes because his calves just like overheat.
Human cube.
Cubes are us.
On to the next one.
On to the next one. Belgium, Italy. This is arguably the most competitive match, maybe you could say. But once again, if KDB and Eden Hazard aren't playing, they'll bring in Carrasco, and I don't know who they'd bring into the midfield. Oh, they have Mertens. So I think Belgium could still win this game. If they have KDB, obviously that would be a better situation. I don't know who's going to win this one because Italy look really solid in the back, but I don't know. One thing that has not happened is Lukaku has not really I don't even think he's peaked at this tournament. He scored some goals, but I don't even think he's peaked. So if Lukaku has a good game, Belgium win this game not fairly easily, but they'll do really well.
I think Italy's got it.
If you had $100, you put it on Italy?
Yeah.
I'd go with that.
2-1.
I want to see Belgium win just because this is their golden generation and they have all these dudes that are ballers and they just, they lose in the last tournament to France, who wins. They lose in the World Cup. I think they also lost to France. No, they lost in the last World Cup. Before that to Germany.
What?
I forget. We played them in the round. I'm thinking about 2014 World Cup. We played Belgium in the round of 16. They beat us. And then in the next game, they lost the next game. I forget who they lost. But anyways, this team is just, they deserve a championship. And I would love to see them win. And I think Kevin De Bruyne's been one of the best players in the world for a long time. And
I will
he
say
just
this.
hasn't won a big title.
Agree. I am going to be rooting for Belgium, but I think Italy will.
That's fair. I will also be rooting for Belgium. I also think Roberto Martinez is really cool, but I think Italy will win. And honestly, watching Insignia, a guy who's not even like 5'2", just boss everybody is really cool to watch.
Yeah, I mean,
he's been, for me, one of the best players of the tournament.
Good tournament.
Phenomenal tournament.
Yep.
So we'll leave it there, and we'll do semis another day.
Another day, another time, another place.
Also, I'm not sure when you're going to put this pod out. It's Wednesday. Is it Wednesday?
It is Wednesday.
It is Wednesday, and we're doing an early pod, so it's about 12:30 in the afternoon. And Messi has till midnight tonight, till he's a free agent. So there's that.
There's that, but there's also pretty high confidence that he's going to stay at Barcelona.
I think he's definitely going to stay. I think they're getting some pieces that will entice him to stay. I think they may finally sell Dembele, which I think they shouldn't have even bought him for $150 million. What a bad buy. But I think it's starting to work. I also think Griezmann's starting to click there. Maybe he and Messi are kind of getting along a little bit more.
Maybe. Griezmann's actually played pretty well this tournament.
I thought Griezmann played fairly well. I think that was one of the biggest, if you look back, I think Deschamps saying, all right, we're 3-1 up. When he took off Griezmann for Sissoko, it wasn't that Sissoko was so bad. It was that Griezmann was so good. And when Sissoko came on, then the Swiss were like, all right, we can start pushing forward because he's not going to get in behind us.
No.
And we'll let him get in behind us. Like, we're not worried about him getting in behind us.
Of course, he had a cross that could have resulted in a goal, but
didn't.
It didn't.
But as like a threat to goal. Griezmann could go to goal and score.
I think that they put one too many Spurs players on the field at one time, and it got a little bit too Spursy, and then they lost it.
What if, are there any Spurs players on Belgium? No.
No.
Spurs players on Italy?
No.
Are there Spurs players on England?
Yeah, I've already mentioned this. Kane could Spursy
It would be the
up
most Spursy
Spursy
thing if you beat Germany and then they bounce out to Ukraine. A side that is honestly fueled by Andrei Shevchenko's ego and just overall vibes.
I want England to win a trophy just for Kane so they can shut up Kane hasn't won a trophy. That whole thing.
The Audi Cup doesn't do it for you?
The Audi Cup. I brought that up.
You're not an Audi man?
I'm not a big Audi Cup.
If it were the Mercedes-Benz Cup,
I'm going to hoist the Audi Cup.
Good God, dude. Good God.
Spurs, I just can't. I think it's
we're going to talk about the Prem
Spurs
soon, eventually, when all this stuff is over. Really, we have a lot of international tournaments because we haven't even really talked about Copa America, but that is now in the quarterfinal stage, which is fun. And then after all this, when we're like kind of getting down and we figured out who the Copa America, who the South American champion is and the European champion, then we rile up the CONCACAF.
Yeah.
It's just, and that will literally take us
preseason
into the Premier League preseason, into the Premier League season almost by like the week. So anyways, if you're listening to this and you enjoy our pod, share it with somebody, share it with a soccer friend or a football friend, send them the link. Check out our website. We got a bunch of swag up there now.
Boysinbolos.com.
Boysinbolos.com. Follow us on Twitter, TikTok, whatever, all the things.
IG.
iJizzle.
And that's it. That's what we got.
Ciao.
Ciao. Thanks for listening to the Boys and Bolos podcast. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, Twitch at Boys and Bolos.
If you'd like to be a guest, please reach out. You can hit us on any of the social media accounts that Jeff just mentioned or email us directly at boysandbolos@gmail.com.
Thanks for listening and see you next time.